Hi everybody, it's Jacqueline, and I wanted to talk to you today about our April collection, April 2025. This is our 100th collection in the Art of Home Club. So because it's our 100th collection, I call this our neighborhood to celebrate our little neighborhood we have going here. And it's very, very mix and matchy. So there's going to be so many different things, so many different variations you can do on this. I'm going to talk about it a little bit in this video. Make sure you check out that tips and ideas document, which you always have for each collection. It's on the collection page. That's also going to give you some ideas for how you can put your projects together. So first of all, our projects are the little wall hanging, the placemat, and a pillow. So first thing you're going to get is 5 different applique houses. They're all seasonal. So we've got Valentine's, spring, summer, fall, and Christmas. Then we'll also have hand embroidery because we always do the hand embroidery option for that. As a 6th option for embroidery only, we've got this one, which says, may your home always be too small to hold all of your friends. So if you like doing hand embroidery, that might be a nice block that you want to make. So this again, this was the fall one with the pumpkins. This is the spring one with the tulips. So now let's talk about how these projects are going to go together. This is a little bit different than our usual collections. Usually I tell you how many of these blocks, applique or embroidery blocks to make, and then you have specific instructions for putting them together. For this, because I wanted to be very mix and matchy, what you're going to do, you're going to get different ideas for how to make these 4-inch squares that go around the center square for your borders. So there are 10 different applique designs and hand embroidery designs. So for example, you've got your dragonfly, you've got a little flower, you've got a bird. Over here on this one, you see the pumpkin, the heart, an acorn, a sunflower, and this one also has a little flower. So you're going to choose, you're going to decide what you want to put on the outside of the border. And again, check out the tips and ideas document because it has a lot of pictures, which will kind of help you visualize how it might go together. So you could do, there's 3 different piece blocks. So you could do all of your blocks pieced. You could do the hourglass blocks. You could do 4-patch blocks. You could do 16-patch blocks. You could do all applique designs around the outside. You can mix them up like I've done here for a super scrappy look. You could even, if you're in a hurry, not do the pieced or the applique or hand embroidery little 4-inch squares. You could do what I've done here and just pick out a pretty fabric and just cut the square and use just the square. I didn't do it on these, but maybe you could even put like a button in the middle or something to decorate it. So lots and lots of different ways to use this. So you're going to make your center square. And then what I did was I just made a whole pile of these little 4-inch squares. I made a pile of applique squares, and then I made a pile of the hourglasses and the 4-patch, etc. And then I just had fun kind of, putting them all on my table and just kind of arranging how I thought that it would be fun to put them together. So that is how we're making these projects. So I want to talk a little bit about applique. Normally I do applique on a light colored background like you see here. I thought for even more fun, I would use color backgrounds. So this you can see is on pink. This is on blue. So if you're doing that, you just want to make sure that you've got plenty of contrast between your applique fabrics and your background fabric. And it's also helpful to use a contrasting thread. So I think it was a navy blue that I used for the thread for the applique there. So something else I've included for this collection is I did a little video showing you how I choose applique fabrics. I think it was for this specific block. If you need a little help picking out applique fabrics, you might want to look at that video and it'll give you some ideas. So something else you can do to kind of make these projects however you want. You're going to see that the design, the applique layout guide and embroidery pattern has these little X's at the bottom. So I machine applique this, and then at the end I hand embroidered these little X's. So you can do that. And this is the embroidered block. So I included the little hand embroidered X's on there. If you don't want to do that, for this one, I had some of this really cute tiny pom-pom fringe, and I used that in place of the X's. So that's another idea of how you could personalize these projects and really make them however you want. You can make these so many different ways. I mean, honestly, you could take this collection and play with it for months and months and months and never make the same thing twice. So this is really a fun collection. This is a little bit different than what we normally do, but I want to make sure you had lots of ways to do it. But it's still it's easy. It's simple. Check out that tips and ideas document. And again, you can see how your quilt might look if you just use nothing but hourglass blocks, for example, or if you use nothing but four patch blocks. So check that out. And then the last thing I want to talk about is the quilting. So I was in a little bit of a hurry, and I got some fuzzers on the back of this. I went really quick and easy with my quilting. I did, well here, let me flip it over this way first and show you. I just did, we call it stitch in the ditch, but it's not actually in the ditch. It's about a 1/16 of an inch away from the edge of the block. So the 8-inch block and then the 4-inch blocks. And I used my walking foot for that. Walking foot is super helpful if you are doing straight line quilting on your projects. And now I'll turn it over so you can just get a better idea of what it might look like on the back. You can kind of see the design I did. So I probably normally, if this was a quilt that I was going to wash, I probably would have done more quilting, especially in this larger area. Like I probably would have done a little bit of stippling or echo. I would just maybe echo the applique design with free motion. But since this is not going to get washed, it's a wall hanging, I didn't feel like I needed to quilt it heavily. I added an extra row of, again, just straight line quilting down the middle of that border. And that was it. So this was pretty quick. I mean, this took me, I think, a half an hour maybe to quilt. So if you're intimidated by quilting and you don't know what to do, honestly, just look at doing like straight lines with a walking foot. Now, if you were going to wash this and you wanted to have a little more quilting, you could maybe you could follow the lines of your patches. You could do maybe an X design in here. And then again, you probably would want to have a little bit more quilting in here, probably free motion, just for this larger area if it's going to go through the wash. But those are some quilting ideas. So I hope that you enjoy this collection as much as I had putting these little projects together. It was so fun to pull out just all of my, like, for this one, like spring and summer themed fabrics and just making it super scrappy. So I hope you have fun with this and see you later. Bye.